Plea bargaining stems from racist jurisprudence only concerned with perpetuating itself. We must analyze this through pessimism about the ability of the legal system to do good things on stolen land, but also recognize that black and brown people can have futures they craft for themselves. The role of the ballot is to vote for the debater that best performatively and methodologically resists racism. Racism builds walls of exclusion and controls how bodies can interact with other bodies. Medieta 4. Racism is a form of state education, way how the force how subjects can interact with other subjects here and spatially. Racism how one can not be in a body. Racism without state's embodiment, building walls of neutrality, of subjection. The racist practice subjugates subjects to the truth of their flesh. And natural law is the foundation of American legal theory and must be the starting point for all conversations that study law and the machinations of the state as it reflects and absorbs legal doctrines from other white colonial powers. The scientific neutrality and inherent contradictions of Anglo jurisprudence was used as a backdoor for white supremacist myth-making and centuries of anti-black and settler violence. Mendenhall 13. American founders validated session by natural law, referencing extended natural law jurisprudence to fit the New World. Americans celebrated the ideals of the Declaration but found it difficult to implement. Philosophy and law had to be written so equality was that each was subject to but not each was outside, not perceived until ideology. They were often indistinguishable. Revolution generations struggled to reconcile irresolvable contradictions and large-scale human bondage. That too, with law's function as principle of equal hegemony of the ruling class, individuals laid the foundation for miscegenation statutes and other legal mechanisms catch inside the Alexa that produce whites as normal. And the natural law of Western nations produced the myth of terra nullius, or land occupied by no one, and necessary retroactive application of law to justify the clearing of land. Analysis of natural law on an international scale illustrates the other kind of violence that it propagates as a legal precedent is molded to lock in white interests and non-white erasure. Let's offer 5. According to the document, there are 5 modes of acquisition of territory. It has been said in most cases, most titles are composite. Robert Jennings defined occupation as a perpetuated by a state of territory not assigned subject to sovereignty of any state. According to him, does not imply the territory was uninhabited. Natives living on tribal organizations were required to state for this purpose. Contrary to what Victoria upheld, the rodents in the later records of the 17th century found that some circumstances native laws, though inhabited, were considered terra nullius. The occupation of vacant land is a mode of acquisition of territory was introduced in the age of discovery. So the difference between Roman private law and new law of nations was natural law. And plea bargaining props up racist hierarchies. Metcalfe and Chirico 17. Black defendants are less likely to plead guilty than white defendants. Cases involving black defendants, higher odds of proceeding to trial, and often more serious, and prior is more extensive than white defendants. Black male defendants get the worst values of the disadvantaged system and rely less heavily on plea bargaining. They are more likely to proceed to trial. The method to cancel the title level of trust in the system of black males be the dream for possible and competent and less willing to trust plea bargaining. For blacks, prior records seem to offer a negative basis of their case and come back to court after discretion, which is not true for white. Black defendants may not be getting as good as an offer. The higher prior records detained increase the odds of charge reduction by 38.3 and 55.6%. Prior records based on arrest record, which had discretion of police officers. There's cumulative disadvantage from recently disparaged from fuller value received through the plea made manifest are going to trial under Wales, but they are subject to harsher penalties. And plea bargaining is produced by a replication of the functions and doctrine of European coercion and violence. Langdon 78. Parallels in doctrine between the medieval jury system towards judicial torture and plea bargaining system each found itself unable to direct the realistic level of safeguards which is committed itself, including inducing the accused to tender confession. Rates of arrest lighter about the like the Europeans make it terribly costly for the accused. There's a difference of degree, not kind. Americans are operating a system that engages in condemnation without education. Thus, the affirmative defense abolition of plea bargaining in the United States criminal justice system. The white paranoia at the heart of U.S. democracy and the civilizing mission of the law results in endless interventionism. Martin Knott 3. An ongoing political logic is revealed. The invasion of Grenada, bombing of Iraq, intervention in Kosovo, each was claimed in terms of world security, each produced a form of U.S. domination of the year. Self-religious motive of position, scientists, and democracy and paranoid practice white supremacy, and the knowledge to claim to defend sovereignty because of violence, claim to establish freedom because it dominates other cases of Zionism, pretend to give to the world. One understands the manner of both white and white liberals, reduce black men for justice, equality, aggression, or they want to take over everything, or they're going too far. Assault on Afghanistan reflected the 3 elements. The moral code does not the right to intervene, it defends the right altogether, it talks about the paradigm requirement to intervene. And the U.S. legal system is thus a settler colonial outlaw that facilitates beliefs, practices, and institutional logics that undergo the racialization and management of Native, Black, Latino, and Asian bodies within the borders of the U.S. and beyond. The use of the settler colonial framework is not exclusive, but adds to strength and explanatory power analysis attempts to include and understand the genocidal logics of America. Glenn 15. Settler colonialism structured framework that encourages and facilitates community across regions, time and field systems that link the racialization and management of Native Americans, Black, Mexicans, and other Latinos, and Native Americans will not that colonial policy. This is the ultimate liberation of Native Americans. So the ideology justified elimination of the beliefs on uncivilized and Jews. We're not making productive use of land rights has made it imperative to Native Americans become invisible in white consciousness. Blackness is made every visible. Blacks are constantly to imagine that white and settler colonialism order racialized third groups and especially human to justify subjecting them to school exploitation, human violence, harassment to ensure settler security. Not only blacks, Mexicans, Chinese were subject to disproportionate violence and ethnic cleansing. Settler ideology defined appropriate generally within settler family using Indian, Black, and others as negative foes. By settler ideologies to deteriorate gender differentiation as a mark of civilization. In fact, exogenous women were viewed as shameless around because they did men's work. Settler colonialism advanced other frameworks, specifically in the historicity and incorporation of Native Americans. Thus, we discussed the connection of the village of various framers with the new awareness of change brought by Tesla's colonialism framework. And the absent analysis of and advocacy against plea bargaining is not a reformist move that excuses the rest of the system from stringent criticism, nor does it impugn the validity of specific movements analysis. Brick by brick, the enduring legacy of America as a whole must be abolished. The criticism of Anglo jurisprudence extends to every legal room, every theory, and every prayer for equality, which requires the work of engaging enduring criticism of the particular ontology by which the American legal system acts anti-blackness as well as the system as a whole. Farley 5. People will be able to live with only after legal superstructures become no other way. We continue that judicial concept. That will be the search sign, the narrow horizon, the usually is finally opening up. The source of progress from slavery is the longest lie, and then the rule of law. Slavery is the rule of law, and slavery is death. The slave practice itself, when a slave bought down before his master was done free will. That's when the slave accomplished it. The apostle reconciliation is freedom when it's unfree, make willing itself unfree. This perfection of slavery takes place slave out of the master, but a place for legal relief and a place for equal rights. And when it cultivates the penal law, hoping for redemption, the law, guarding the gates of slavery, being segregation is not forgotten in origin. It knows what master it serves. Awake from slavery, to see everything discover, every law, every house, every plantation, all but everything. Request for equality, people always fail because of the need, fact, means the real plan. Education cultivates our desire in the direction of our hierarchy slaves, but requires legal prayer for equal rights. The text of law may tell a certain story. The history and certain law is absolutely no consequence. The story of the law, the rules, table manners do not matter. All over white or black and cumulative with the endless ambiguities of law reign town. The tools of legend to thy law, the system of our substantive policies, whatever for pleasure. Besides, there's always ambiguities. Ambiguities are vessels of our desire. Institutions of the colline are forms of white or black. Every institution that forms slavery, institutions of the colline are forms of training in white or black. Some of our institutions is some of our training. And the AF's anti-state action is not just an act of resistance, it's an act of counter-sovereignty and refusal of settler sovereignty. Sturm 17. Our oppressive force generates resistance, including counter-sovereignties that exceed more legal authorized recognized versions. Theory of resistance and evokes intentional habits that domination get reproduced by doing the resisting. Refusal offers something else entirely, neither derivative nor reproductive, rather than an outright rejection of the externally imposed logic to settler state sovereignty. Refusal is active, material, historical, ideally even touchable, and act possibly more ontological than anything else. It is people insisting on their own unique way of being. Thus I turn. Open for concepts.
Good. Do you get offense off of the discourse of the 1AC?
I mean, I'd say that I'm accountable for my errors, but no, it's not just I speak, ergo I win.
Okay, wait, so there's no like performative aspect of the 1AC that is important?
I mean, every debate round has some kind of performative aspect to it. Every like action that we take has some kind of
okay, I guess my question is
not I speak, ergo I win.
Okay, so just to be clear, the 1AR can't go for like some sort of like my engagement and this sort of analysis is good, and that analysis is a reason why I should win.
I mean, if your analysis is indicted by my analysis, then I can make arguments as to why your analysis is racist and bad, but I'm not going to be like, oh, I spoke about this, therefore I'm going to win.
That's fine. So does the AF crash the CJS?
I mean, the AF would say that the end of the justice system is a good thing, but no, we don't feel that the system just like crashes itself.
Can you bring me, wait, so of course, okay, so the end of the like CJS is a good thing?
Yeah, it's racist.
Can you give me like a line from any of the cards that say like abolishing plea bargaining would end the CJS?
The goal of the AF is not that through the abolition of plea bargaining we end the CJS. The argument is that, yes, the AF agrees that we should end the racist criminal justice system, but the argument is that in the Farley 5 card says that brick by brick we must take aspects of the criminal justice system down, starting with plea bargaining because that is a racist tool of the criminal justice system. Does plea
bargaining directly destroy the CJS?
Again, I think you're misunderstanding the AF. The goal isn't like, oh, we remove plea bargaining, now the system is going to destroy itself. The goal is like, brick by brick, we must dismantle the system, beginning with plea bargaining. It's not like, oh, as a result of us like getting rid of plea bargaining, that causes good consequences, or the system somehow like dismantles itself. It's like, no, plea bargaining is racist, and we should get rid of it because of that. The entire system is racist, so the end goal should be to get rid of the system writ large.
Okay, cool. Let's go to the solvency. How does getting rid of plea bargaining sort of start this analysis of colonialism? And like,
wait, can you repeat your question? You kind of mumbled there.
How does getting rid of plea bargaining sort of start this analysis of colonialism that can like upend institutions?
The argument is not that the abolishment of plea bargaining like causes an analysis and like causes people to get less racist. The argument is that the analysis is all of the cards that we read about why the system is racist, about why natural law is racist, about why the U.S. is a settler colonial outgrowth. And then the argument is that because of that and because of the racism of plea bargaining and the history of the justice system, we should abolish it.
Okay, so reform is possible?
No, it doesn't say that reform is possible. The AF is not reformist. The AF is refusal.
Okay.
We don't see that reform is possible. You can't reform a racist, broken system.
Okay, so then how does the negative start engaging with this sort of analysis? What are like possible things that negative say?
I mean, you can talk about why my analysis of the criminal justice system is incorrect. You can talk about why my analysis is racist. You can talk about why I'm like wrong about the history of settler colonialism or racism. You could like indict any of the theories of the authors that I presented. Yeah, okay. There's lots of different ways for you to engage, lots of different indicts of our advocacy.
Sorry,
Okay.
Is theory anti-black or colonial?
Yeah, probably because it like disregards our discussion.
Awesome.
And it forces us to prove that there's some kind of proper way to talk about racism when really there isn't.
Cool. Okay, 245 left, they were just 3 up case. If I send this to your Mac, would it be okay?
Yeah, I think the issue is sending it from a Mac.
Okay. Oh, actually 4 up case, sorry. Forgot that one. That it should be sent?
You said 3 up.
4. Okay, is everybody ready? The colonial imaginary structures the semiotic value structures of modernity, critical critique has become a institutional view from nowhere that brings all meanings as a single calculable grid into the academy standard on duality. 16, political economies, internationalization, and higher education, original colonial matrix of power system, materialism, policy, orders of social means in relation according to the global imaginary paradigms on the scale of trajectory, space and time with the best position. Modern national imaginaries always depend on the horizon premise from within the colonial global imaginary of individual and property ownership are the basis of person within more than historical boundary, heteropatriarchal gender, and kitchens of the radical critique of imaginary also incorporate the content of Western higher education and particles of state capital and accounting bound to the universities, instrumentalizing calculus and diversification, sustained imposition of modern colonial imaginary social meanings as strategic means of media spread of the modern colonial global imaginary is effectively a general position of the planetary hegemony, even if an articulated definitely across the space and time, and even as resident for dominant persistent. The one I see's performance expresses a dangerous collision between the subject of neoliberal resilience and the subaltern. The process of demystifying colonial relations worsens depression and propagates a system of settler violence that is built upon the reproduction of neoliberal subjectivity. Bracket 16. The subaltern is not really cut off from the center has been developed by interests in indigenous subaltern population and the vested interest running within the WTO. The subaltern population sort of intellectual property has been minimized exploitation of relative piracy and human genome engineering. The sort of have invested in the interest in integrating subalternity within becomes integrated within this circuit of production resilience and characterized by the ability to bounce back. The good subject is able to act resilient ways. Resilience to become the stuff in which agencies made of opportunity to be able to deal with the elasticity and adaptation of resilience of the wretched earth is fetishized by the economic institution. The variable responsibility for the conditions of precarity, resilience, and raw materials available provides the infrastructure of global production. Consequences of the value of the world bigger investing in training programs and global science and issue that long-standing strategies of survival safely mountable in the needs of a global greedy economy of resilience applies the colonization of the imaginary given some methods of political alternatives resilience of the incited by the suspicion of the sequel overcome also further creates a suspicion of the developing capacity of imagining. In other words, and the alternatives to reject the one is seen in an act of hospicizing modernity of executing the liminal space in which liberal subject formations created in interrupting debate at the level of colonial size where competition in academic creates a schism necessary to problematize the one sees imaginary for subject formation and complicit in colonial violence statement on duality. 16 recognize how social imagination reducing crowds makes it possible. That's how can the world to be imagined in the hospicizing mainstaying contradictory process that balances efforts to minimize harm within a violent sustainable system and declining the experiment responsibility and reflexively the alternatives prepare for the emergence of something new temporarily resisting the subject yet keep visible the extent to which we are made to seek to oppose media spaces of the collective subject and ask much of the limits of the resistance produced by the same modern colonial imaginary we seek to contemplate what kind of futurities we need for university and within ourselves to engage all of the kinds of work is strategic within existing references and possibilities and examine the limits of the reference cut card at references. Counterpoint. The United States Department of Justice should instruct the United States Circuit Court judges to use their discretion to consider sentence disparities when trying Native Americans, paying specific attention to the needs for sentence to be no greater than necessary for achieving the goals. A court should commit disparity faster than the current part of the concept of these people against the house. Judges ought to be regional non-guidelines sentencing and comfort disparity to or to be sending borough disparity similarly applicable. This court should not be brought for the per se amount of considering Native Americans to sentence disparity and then proceed to judges who appropriately considered subdivision to the judges may consider disparities to a crime responsible reasonable non-guideline sentencing and such congressional attempts at fixing arbitrary sentencing laws have failed to plan its key Droske to the government 100-to-1 ratio established must similarly be applied across the board as unpersuasive than the Native American causes it does not prevent judgment using the discretion to sentence Native American defense within congressionally established minimums and maximally Congress saying its intent to the court to be bound to 101 ratio and something have been comprised police considerable weight under Congress imposing endorsement of resulting disparity for congressional action and focus on uniformity among federal defendants rather than on federal disparity for Native American defendants. Congress with reluctance acts does not reach constitutional proportions. I mean disparity is deemed mandated by the Congress on whatever purpose and counterplays a solution to harsh guidelines by requiring a case-by-case particular analyses. Trust K 3, the sentencing commission's administration of the disparity of the courts that consider relevant factors that for a particular case playing specific intent of the interest something no greater than the necessary to achieve the goal state straight with consideration of the particular consideration of this impact on the local Native American community. This proposal was realistic as only recent time of the circuit courts to define the contours of federal justice setting discretion and after the book according to the judicial gameplay within the guidelines of already apparent additions of the big and counterplan text. Tribal court should establish a right to court-appointed defensive counsel. If the tribe cannot afford the counsel, then the United States Congress should fund and train independent tribal defense organization. Colonial position on the Indian civil rights and the indigenous population of the United Constitutional protection. Creole 13. Indian terms of tribal court criminal procedure or non-tribal court appointed defense counsel under the Indian Rights Civil Rights Act. The defense of the rights counsel and the rights of he does not have to in tribal court this decision to make prohibited for those acts of the American Indians articles of courts not qualified to the defense of the counsel and tribal courts tribal performing the embrace the splinter zone the justice required adversaries the prohibited adequate defense tribes should interpret by the counsel for indigenous defense party tribal courts called Congress to fund the prison counsel reverse the legacy of colonialism. Counterplans key to undoing centuries of native exclusion. Creole 13 tribal reductive defense counsel role in the adversary model justice tribes have the opportunity to reconsider the impact of prior tribal bill on the tribal community. Failure to for a necessary part of the state of the job arguments to be responsible for the needs of tribes. The tribes operating an Anglo-American adversary system insist on training operations and funding training and an independent tribal organization or several requirements. We're not reading the next right. Dissent. The forced Native American defense to be subject to federal sentencing guidelines. Droskey 8 South Dakota defended the sole receiving an average sentencing guidelines 21 months of Native American with the South Dakota would be an average 47 months of disparity supporting the conflict jurisdictional arrangements around the Indian country and the rigidity of federal sentencing guidelines. Native Americans subject to federal jurisdiction are many offensive for many crimes committed by Native Americans when they country. These defendants suffer disproportionately harsher than because they are not Indians. Judges couldn't say that virtually any United States judge whether the federal sentencing guidelines are preferred and Native Americans the answer would be no. Too often the required to post sentence based on justice rather than just in the both of this greatly if the sentencing disparity turns all of your CJS off, Droskey, 8 Native Americans enjoy high rates of poverty and employment, low education. This condition also lower than administrative justice in Native Americans. With these factors resulting in alienation of Native Americans within criminal justice system. The case where not reading the framework cards but the substance post-plan plea bargaining will simply go underground. El Paso Post 1 and 87 in the judges send all the plea words we made the lawyers who were depart from the offer policy of the judge were motivated the efficiency plea words appeared in sub rosa. Prosecutors in addition plea discussion with defense attorney agreements were reached with counselor presented their judges privately. Judges made no reference to proceedings and all police record in the courthouse. Judges participating in the pre-trial hearings in common form of a war counsel engaged in negotiations of the judge's chamber without participation. We're not reading the next word in high caseload rules and massive expansion of the judiciary and empirics for that Congress will prevent the collapse of the court system regardless of ideological differences. Till little 2K caseload was relatively stable in 1970s agency for Congress to meet out ideological and put a hatred agenda. Their partisan expansion with the dramatic rise in caseload in 1970s Congress has been more concerned with the efficient progress in case rather than ideological parachutes game facing enormous caseloads. Congress responded to that more judges expanding judicial Congress president engaged in policy control of the federal district courts. Trump's lower appointees matter. They framed judicial decisions for decades to come. Shineland 11/30 lower courts related critical one deciding conscious of a prisoner rights, gay rights, immigration, discrimination, discrimination, the impact of the decisions filled by more than 300 million Americans like legislation. These one-time appointments are not reversible. White males account for 80% of the president's picks of the Trump selection process. As seen in the selection of judges to the Federal Society and Heritage Foundation, two very conservative nominees are textuals in favor of very narrow reading the Constitution. They would roll back expansion of civil rights, reversible abortion rights, gay rights, and affirmative action. They are supported deregulation when Obama that only the courts were made for Republican appointed justice. And the Trump is the principal reason for the courts protecting the tribal ban strict voter ID laws, transgender gay rights, limited availability, contraception, and abortion. Servicing shift the balance of the courts and able to obtain more favorable rulings for key social issues. Did you get everything, or do you want me to do that one?
It's fine. It's just none of the framework arguments, and they're not this hard. And yeah.
Yeah, and then there was one more. Authentic legal representation was.
Oh yeah. Alright, is everyone good?
Yeah.
Okay. Status of the K and the two counterclaims.
Condition.
Okay. Let's talk about the K then.
Well, I'll go for one of them and then two more, but I don't think that matters for your answer.
Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about the K then. The Stein and Andreotti 16 card, this is talking about how when imaginaries function within the existence of like colonization or within colonial mindsets, that is bad. What part of the 1AC does that?
So first is operating within like a liberal debate space and making the strategy calculable, for example, by...
So like talking about racism in the debate space?
No, that's not our argument. Our argument is like presenting advocacies, and it's like basically like a critique of liberalism in the form of university. Our argument is that leads to things like co-option because you allow the universities to know what the strategy is. There was a good example of this, and it obscures colonialism. The example was when the U.S. tried to combat neo-Nazism in World War II, but then led to things like the War on Terror. Obviously, nobody thought they were colonialists.
Within both these cards, what is the specific link to the app? Besides just like I talked and said what I was doing.
Well, I think that's a relevant part of the affirmative, but So, okay, I'll just like point to parts in the affirmative if you want me to. It's just a critique of resiliency if that
So it's
clears
a
anything
critique
up.
of like presenting my advocacy in the debate space.
It's a
Hear
critique.
about it?
It's a sequencing question. It's a critique of presenting your advocacy in the debate space without that sort of epistemological analysis and discussion with other people and other
What
like
discussion
people who are
with other
relevant to
people?
your like affirmative.
What analysis? What discussion with people relevant to my AF? I'm having a discussion about my AF advocacy
Well,
with
I
you and
mean-
the judge of the student governor here and everyone else watching.
I don't think
Who have I
this
excluded
1AC
from
was
this
a discussion because it was a presenting of the advocacy. I don't think it like means the.
Yeah, the debate after that where you talk about how my advocacy could be
Debate
bad is
after
the
the
discussion
like you
that
mean the
we're
1
having.
NC, the 1AR. I just,
What
like the
discussion do you
critique
wanna have
says
before
debate is a
resolution?
competitive activity, which means authentic discussion
None of
and
the cards
actual
are
change
about debate. The
impossible.
cards are about working within colonization and within the academy. My
Wait,
question
do
is,
you
what
think this is not the
discussion do you
academy,
want to have?
Shruti? Obviously, we are in an
Yeah, I do,
academic
but
arena
also
and a
I
public
think that none of your
sphere.
cards are specific to what I did. But
Okay,
let's talk
the
about
card
the
does
alt
not have
then.
to say
In
debate
the world
to
of
not
the
be
alt, is
specific to
plea
the
bargaining
AF.
abolished?
Sorry, what?
In the world of the alt, is plea bargaining abolished?
No, it's not a pick.
Okay. Can the alt result in any kind of reform of plea bargaining or reduction in plea bargaining?
Well, I don't think, like, we won't go for offense
Yes or
off of
no?
that.
Yes or no?
We
Is
won't
there
go for
reform or
offense off of that in the
reduction
2 and
plea
R, but we won't say that can't happen. It's just a question of
bargaining? So it's a floating
sequencing.
pick. That's fine.
Huh?
Then let's talk about what
Okay,
the
you can
alt
make that
does.
I
What is
hope
an
you make that
active?
interpret
What is an
AR.
active hospicing modernity?
It's like, so you know what hospicing, right? It's gradually, so hospicing is a term used in the medical industry in terms of end of life patients. Hospicing is couching those patients and alleviating their spiritual needs until they go to death. Modernity is the root cause of the impacts of the
helping people feel
1AC.
good before they die?
No, it's
How does the alt-
caressing modernity, caressing like civil society until civil society kills itself. Argues that it's a
Wait,
refusal of
so it's like
participation.
making civil society feel good about itself, taking
No,
care
no,
of
no,
civil
no,
society until it
No,
dies?
no. It's
That's what
it's
hospicing
rather a creation of like things like safe havens and academic spaces where epistemological
How do
questions
you
can
create a
happen.
safe haven in an academic space? You're doing exactly what I
Do
did.
you not
right
know what
now.
a safe space is? Like it's like I guess it's similar to something like the undercommons
Rohit, you
critique.
can be condescending. I know what a safe space is. My question was, how do you make one?
You're condescending to and crossing, so I don't think that was what was
Okay,
your
don't
question?
answer my question then.
Alright, cool.
How do you make a safe space?
How to make a safe space? It's through the process of that like questioning of the institution that we are allowed to like create movements and create coalitions between different people and like just like create a safe space. It's not that hard. It's also not floating pictures, by the way. I don't want the lawyer to like waste time on that job.
The Drosky card, can you read to me a line that says plea bargaining?
So arguments that plea bargaining is used to lower sentences, like lower harmful sentences. Charlie?
Let me email.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, it's sent. The order is case K, the sentencing counterplan, and the tribal court's counterplan, dissent.
Is K sentencing tribal courts, is that?
Writing wouldn't be hard.
I got it.
The issue with the 1 and C is that it fundamentally misunderstands the act. The argument is that the system is in place and that we should abolish it because of its inherent racism. Any kind of ability of the system to go underground or expand itself is inevitable in order the system continues to exist. But that does not mean that we should that we should not fight against it. Which is why the act is still a good idea, regardless of any kind of external consequence, because we have an ethical obligation to reject racism in every single possible instance. That's the Mandela 4 evidence. So now, the long element of the case. First, they read the 187 evidence that says that plea bargaining goes underground, but that's not a reason not to do the act. Just because white people are going to be more racist and will re-abolish slavery, it's not a reason to not abolish slavery in the first place. These truth claims of the act are still true. This does not disprove the act. Now, the Tiller 2K evidence says that a high caseload would expand the judiciary, but that is not really an argument for why we would cause a high caseload in the first place. There are already high caseloads in the status quo. The civil courts are clogged up because of plea bargaining. Their impact is non-unique in the world of the racist criminal justice system, which is why we should get rid of it in the first place. Now, the Shetland 1113 card says that Trump is appointing conservative people, but Trump is going to do that inevitably. Trump will always take some kind of racist action. That's not a reason not to fight back against the legal system. The Farley 5 card takes this argument out because it says brick by brick we need to be able to abolish the system, which begins with things like abolishing plea bargaining because it's a racist tool of the system, which means the truth claims of the act are still intact. They have not disproved that in any way. Now the K proper. First, no link to the entirety of the K, or the link is not unique to the K because their argument in cross-examination is just that I presented my advocacy and my idea of what I'm doing in cross-examination, or in the one I see, but they've done the exact same thing by presenting an alternative, talking about the alt text, and also presenting counterplans and dissent, which means they do the exact same thing in the space of academia. So the link is not unique because they're still a form of liberalism that aims to achieve good ends in the first place, which means they're still trying to hospice system. Now the sign in Andretti 16 card, this is talking about how working and imagining within colonial system without recognizing colonization is bad. The AF turns this because we are recognizing the colonization. That's the Glenn 15 card, which link turns the entire decay because we are working through a framework of settler colonialism in order to deal with the end of conversion, which means we're not a form of false imagining. Now the Brack 16 card, this just says that the performance is bad because we conflate neoliberalism and colonialism, but we do not do that. We recognize the individuality of each kind of oppression. That's the Glenn 15 card. The settler colonialism framework recognizes the disparities between different people throughout the experience because settler colonialism recognizes the fact that race is a biopolitical category and also that individual groups are very different depending on their cultural history. It means we are more inclusive than what the alternative does. Now the alternative proper. First, permutation do both. We can do hospicing modernity while still abolishing the act because we need to take a stand against the legal system. The alternative does not do this in cross-examination. He said it's not a pick. Also, permutation of the AF and the alternative, and permutation of the AF and the alternate all ends still bind. Either A, the alt is able to resolve the residual link to the AF, or it doesn't solve anything because the link to the AF is so small because he did the exact same thing that I did. Also, safe spaces are a facade. Any restriction promote a culture of silence that breeds white narcissism and skins with the frustration and anger people call it. Leonardo Reporter 10. Conventional national established states normally defend marginalized groups become independent action in ways students fail to appreciate. Living experience race is almost never safe for people to call state tax as a misnomer because white influence make you feel safe. Because if the rest of color is established interest against looking racist safe space, only tries to set some issues that can be asked of anger and to liberatory dialogue. White is the center of safety, the viewpoints of conflict, and maintain self-image. Work the hard and image. Now we can DOJ counterplan. First, reputation do both. We can abolish plea bargaining and also care about sentencing guidelines. This is not mutually exclusive because we can still resolve sentencing guidelines in a world where they're abolished. But also, there's a performative disside to this counterplan because they put faith in the legal system. There's also a disside to both the performative disside to both the other counterplan and the disside, which we can cross-apply there because the legal system will never do good things for people of color because it is inherently colonial. So that's the Martin Top 3 evidence, and also the Glenn 15 evidence, which means they perpetuate the endless interventionism that the legal system does when it tries to perpetuate itself in the future. Also, their argument that this doesn't solve the obvious, this doesn't solve back to the fact that black people are disproportionately disadvantaged in the system of plea bargaining. That's the Metcalf and Chirico's card. They don't resolve sentencing guidelines for that, which is the reasons why they perpetuate racism and make it worse. Now, the next counterplan, permutation do both. We can also do tribal courts, and also we can train them in the first place. First, this also establishes faith in legal systems and also expands U.S. jurisprudence into tribal court areas, which is a form of settler colonialism, which means the Glenn 15 cards they decide to this counterplan, which means they perpetuate racism. And also the Creel 13 card, they say that the counterplan solves the exclusion of Native Americans, but they go about that in the wrong way by trying to re-indict them into systems of settler colonialism, which is a uniquely bad thing because that perpetuates genocide and a erasure of their culture. Now, the decide, this is just an excuse to leave racist systems in place. The AF does not link to this because we are a refusal of the system, not any way to like reform sentence guidelines. But that is the last part that I read in the one I see. Also, they don't solve the entire. The dissent is not the dissent is not unique. It also doesn't solve anything in the world. The criminal justice system is racist. They can see the Metcalf and Cherry card that says that there are still harsh sentencing guidelines for black people and people of color because they get the worst value for their deals, which means trying to force sentencing guidelines to fix themselves in the first place is not going to happen. And well, the underlying system is racist. The act is the only key for exposing the root cause because we're the ones that identify the history of the system. I marked the card in.
Yeah, that's fine.
He said we get some more time, but we'll see if you got some thoughts about that. There's some people I don't see. I don't see him. I don't see over.
Okay, the order is the critique, the first counterplan, the second counterplan, the dissad, the case.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, the critique, the first counterplan, then the second counterplan, then the dissad, then case.
Is it the tribal courts counterplan second?
Yeah, that's no. Wait, what?
Hold on. First counterplane and second counterplane. Can we name them?
Yeah, the first counterplan is the DOJ counterplan.
Okay.
The second counterplan is the tribal courts counterplan. So critique DOJ, tribal courts, decide that case. You good? Oh, sorry, I'm reading your stuff. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Good?
No, let me download.
Yeah. Okay. Concede that the link is also non-unique because the link is also non-unique. We'll also kick the alternative the permutation or just a competition on advocacy because otherwise creates infinite one-year advocacy makes it impossible to tune because we have to test every single advocacy. You can just make it all the permutation of the counterplane, kick the counterplane, we'll test a performance offense on the third counterplane. Now the third counterplane, corrupt all the performance arguments here. Now your specific response to this counterplane is that it's faith in the legal system. We force white coloniality to the tribal system. No, it's not white people saying rather the advocate is literally a Native American who thinks tribal situations should do this, not an enforcement of USFG law, which means that there's no specific link to this counterplane. Now the rest of your performance office is incoherent. Say some engagement with the state is necessary. You're affirming to prove that even if it comes in the form of pessimistic reform, that is good, which is the counterplane. We're undoing a law that justified things like colonialism and American exceptionalism. Now your performance office in one other ways it took state engagement leads to co-option, even because we were on a faith system. Otherwise the state will just place a tank in the middle of your movement. It makes it impossible to actually challenge the state to see the political to conservatives will also always enact things like court appointments and rulings to make it impossible for social transformation to actually happen. Third is leads to passivity, focus on material. It's important to actually improve tangible conditions of people in the subaltern. Otherwise, it just leads to endless critique without anything, which proves that things like counterplane and faith in the system are always inevitable. You should not use in your adjudication. Now, the counterplane tribal court should establish a right to court appointed defense appeal. There are arguments that the civil rights doctrine appointed by the U.S. government in the 1960s denied tribal defendants in tribal courts the access to things like the defense counsel's constitutional rights, which means that they were never actually legally represented in tribal courts. It's also internally linked to your arguments. It's not a question of the USFD courts, but rather survival strategies in tribal courts. Now, the counterplane solves because it leads to things undo things like native exclusion because they have access to legal representation which can create social transformation. Now, you can see the counterplane solves the entire case. Your only argument is that the reintroduction is indoctrination into coloniality, but no, we've already won that. The counterplanes in this instance are about it for you see permutation do well. No, there's no benefit for the permutation because we will win a eternal case. You have conceded the affirmative. The counterplanes solves the entirety of the case through undoing a legacy of colonialization and exclusion, which solves the root cause for why things like the legal system is so bad right now. Now, back to the performance stuff. You shouldn't evaluate it one force adjudication with different performance, which inevitably invalidates certain identities when that's understood. There's no way to weigh between different performance means you should look to whoever's winning on substance as a method to adjudicate whose discourse is better. Makes the judge and adjudicator of your identity puts power in the hands of the institution, which also is a performative reason to negate if they think performance matters. For you can have all the benefits of performance without connecting the ballot. You haven't extended the role of ballot 1 year nor warrant for it, which proves that you shouldn't be able to evaluate this. Also, the counterplan is really good. Authentic legal representation is a critical rallying point for social transformation, which proves that it's a key internal link to affirmative in things like movements and analyses. Clear 11. Students found themselves wanting to institute intuition legal arguments and feeling powerless to do so. The common attitude that the lawyer can destroy moral and political convictions and legal arguments. Not a waste of time learning occurs while in more policy institutional planning. The same good lawyers who possess useful information absorbed by theorist legal training synthesizes the many complexities that arise in doing the field of legal case make a contribution and justice litigation creates a focal point of energy around which a community can mobilize and conduct conscious raising cause legal education test the book reinforces sense of powerlessness while the capacity to change social institutions like goals of legal critical legal pedagogy or to disrupt the process piece of legal practice and administering egalitarian content. We've won that the counterplan and things like legacy exclusion increase the perception that things will get better when things actually will get better because it creates a rallying point for things to actually get better. Now, the dissent, we went to the nothing to the dissent, but you know, there's not a performative reason to affirm because you conceded that the counterplan is a good and not the case. The overview of the 1A is false. We don't defend the status quo. We defend a fight against the system by giving people certain rights, certain constitutional rights when they're in tribal courts. To prove that we are internally to accessing movements to the firm. Now the underground argument, your only argument is that that's not a reason why you shouldn't do that. Sure, you can do that, but that proves that it's not. There's no solemnity of the firm because plea bargains will always go underground, which are inherently worse. 8 point is that there's a lack of transparency because nobody will be able to tell whether things like harsher sentences or plea bargains or prosecutors are being racist, which proves that the affirmative is just a guise of racism and also terminal defense against the which means the plea bargains will always happen in the legal system. Any institutions, any working through the affirmative is just a reification of that legal system, which proves that you do have faith in the institution and your pessimistic reform solemnity is false. There's no explanation of the F in the 1 year, so you shouldn't grant that sort of offense in the 2 year. There's no reason why the affirmative is a good idea. If we want a case deficit because there's no extension of solemnity, now the Tiller and now the case overload argument now actually underground is terminal defense of the affirmative because it proves that nationwide banning of plea bargain will just happen again because it incentivizes judges to remain efficiency, which proves that you can't even crash the criminal justice system and it's just a ruse. So there's no offense because you can't get rid of the only pillar that you want to get rid of. Now the Tiller 2K evidence, you say that court calling is happening right now, but no, plea bargaining proves that court calling is not happening right now because it's used for judicial efficiency. The firm gets rid of that now because 900% of cases are caused by solved by plea bargaining. When you get rid of plea bargaining, it makes all those cases go to trial, which causes things like expansionation of judiciary. This evidence that waste because it's based on empirical fact in the 1960s. Carter did the same exact thing, which means Trump will do the same exact thing because he's done it in 2017, literally when Obama was denied the ability to appoint many judiciaries, which means Trump is able to do that right now, and he's getting a lot of precedent from the legislation, which proves that he's likely to do that. Now the impact of this is lower appointees force things like abortion, like doing abortion and sending immigrants back to Mexico, and things like increasing it being tough on crime because that's what they believe because they are conservative. Your argument is that Trump will always do the things before this proves no. The affirmative increases that, which is the reason why the affirmative is a bad idea. This internal returns your Farley argument because it's a question of how the legal system will always get worse. You say it always will be worse, but no, you can see the you can treat that. You don't get tried from when we advocate for something that does solve the F. Now the lower appointees of that way means that there's also things like social transformation will never occur because the people will be denied constitutional rights and actual attacks against government. Proves things like intellectual property and research will not be possible. So things like analysis will never happen. Proof that counterplan is a key to link to solving the affirmative. Things like rights being denied will always prove the affirmative can never solve.
Okay, 1 minute, starting now.
About time to beats. He's not on here.
Overview that you can flow on the app, the K, the app, and then the admin.
Sorry, did you say overview on the case, the K, and then like case, like proper?
Case proper and the admin. Is everyone good? Okay. The lesson from this debate is that the 2NR is way too late to make progress good claims. There's not a single card in the 1NC that justified some ability for Native Americans to experience progress, but also they've conceded the entirety of the true claim of the 1AC that there is no progress for black bodies in the entirety of the legal system, which means that all their attempts to place faith back in the system and do radical reform just causes black fungibility. That was the line 15 card and also the 405 card, which means the only option that we have to tear the entire system down is by taking it down brick by brick, which is the only thing that the app does. We can't fix a broken system. They've conceded that it's racist, and they've also conceded that you have an ethical obligation to reject racism, which means on face you should vote neg or vote out because they've conceded that they've tried to put faith in a system that does nothing for black people. Now the K. The issue with the K is that they can't kick out of it when they concede an impact turns the alternative. They conceded the Leonardo and Porter 10 card that says that their attempt to create safe spaces is net worse because those are just safe spaces for white people that make them comfortable with their racism in the first place, which means that for people of color there is no such thing as a safe space because the world and the paternal justice system is always racist, which means they can't kick out of it because they've advocated for the safe spaces in the first place, and they don't address any of this argument or send defense to it in the 2 hours, which means you can extend this as offensive reason to vote out against their alternative because they've conceded that they increase racism by making safe spaces for white people because they're able to ameliorate their claims and also ameliorate their feelings of being racist in the first place, which means we never confront racism and hold the alternative. They can't kick it when they concede an impact turn. They've only extended the permutation as test competition. That doesn't answer the impact turn. He's vote on this because it's offense for how they increase racism. Now the case proper. The issue with their extension of the case is that they've conceded that the truth claim of the app is still true. The app is still a good idea. We still have the right orientation. They say that we still cause a guise of racism and we reify faith in the system, but no, the logic of the case turns to the extent that we shouldn't ban slavery because white people will get more racist. It is not a reason to not do away with the racist system. Even if plea bargaining goes underground in the first place, they have not one reason as to how that makes it exponentially worse. This is just a lazy reason to not do away with their racism in the first place. We still ban a tool of the racist criminal justice system. That's the Metcalfe and Jericho 17 card, and also the Farrelly 5 card. We have to take down brick by brick. That begins with abolishing plea bargaining. Even if it goes underground, we can deal with that later. Now, they read the Tiller 2K card and say that there is no court clause now and that cases are resolved by plea bargaining and that we extend the course of it. But the issue with this card is they have not read a link that says that we would increase the caseload. This isn't a crash the system app. I didn't give you the link to this, which means there is no turn here because they haven't won that we increase the caseload, which means you don't get your argument about expanding the judiciary because you didn't win that we increase caseload. Now, they say that I don't get try or die because they solve the applicants of conservative judges, but conservative judges also link to the counterplan because they're indoctrinating people into the legal system and also making them trained by these people. Now the counterplan proper. The issue with the counterplan is that even if I don't win my performance arguments about whether to put faith in the system, they've conceded a very material impact from the Glen 15 card that says that they force Native Americans to be indoctrinated into a system that perpetuates genocide against itself. The idea that Native Americans can engage in the system in the first place is false because they concede the idea of terra nullius, the Mendenhall 13 card, that the entire system is founded on the death of Native body in the first place, which means there is no radical reformism. You can't make progress good claims in the next page. The Clear 11 card is not even specific to Native or Indigenous bodies, but they've also conceded that they do nothing for black people. That is the Metcalfe and Jericho card, which is the Martineau card about interventionism and black fungibility. Is a diss out to this case, is a diss out to the counterplan that is straight up conceded. You would increase racism where you continue to engage in a system that does absolutely nothing for black people because leaving plea bargaining in place perpetuates racism and increases it.